All right, back again for part 2. Which disease is caused by a fungal infection? All right, intestinal worms are caused by a parasite. Influenza and chicken pox are both by a virus. Athlete's foot is a fungus. So for a fungus, you would treat it with an antifungal cream or spray. Viruses are prevented with a vaccine. Parasites, some parasites you might be able to treat with an antibiotic or some other kind of medication that would kill the parasite. Normally, though, I want you to think, if you see the word antibiotic, I want you to think bacteria. All right? And if you see the word vaccine, I want you to think virus. How are pandemics different from epidemics? All right? Pan means all. Epi means upon. And dem means people. All right? So a pandemic is upon all the people. An epidemic is upon the people in an area. All right? So if this is the world, okay, and you have one spot that's affected, that would be an epidemic. But if it starts spreading to other continents, okay, then that's a pandemic. Which is one possible benefit from biotechnology research. So we need a human benefit specifically from biotechnology. All right, producing crops that grow in areas where they normally don't. That sounds good. Producing new types of disease causing viruses. All right, causing disease, that is not a human benefit. Increasing the ability to turn ocean water to fresh water. Now that is a benefit, but that's just engineering. All right, creating new types of buildings that can withstand hurricanes. That is also engineering. So the best answer would be A. How has genetic engineering helped farmers? Developing better fertilizer for crops. That's chemistry. By creating crops that resist some disease. Okay, maybe. Producing soil that makes crops grow better. That's maybe chemistry. By producing faster ways to harvest crops. That's engineering. So the best answer would be B. Some environments, wolves prey on deer for their source of food. If all the wolves were taken from the environment, what would most likely happen to the deer population? So we've talked about this before with Yellowstone National Park. The population of deer was fairly constant. There were some ups and downs, but there always are. But then they decided, let's get rid of all the wolves. Deer population shot up. Then there wasn't enough food to go around, so the deer started competing for food. And of course, some deer were better than others, and the ones that didn't get enough food died. There was famine and disease because they were overcrowded. Then they reintroduced the wolves, and the population started coming back up, and now it's all kind of level again. All right, so as the population goes up, competition increases. How are mutualism and parasitism different? So there's 3 types of symbiosis. All right, the root word of mutualism is mutual. So that means both benefit. Commensalism means one benefits and the other is just not affected. Parasitism like a flea, a tick, a hookworm, intestinal worms, heartworms, kidney flukes, okay, or liver flukes. Those benefit by harming. Now my writing got a little sloppy there, but you can always go back to your textbook if you're not sure what I wrote, or you could just rewind the video and listen again. What would have the greatest long-term impact on reducing the amount of carbon? Well, here's the thing. Okay, so the only things that take carbon out of the atmosphere are plants and phytoplankton. All right, so if you plant things that take carbon out of the atmosphere, okay, then there's less carbon in the atmosphere. If you destroy those things, then you're not taking carbon dioxide out of the air. Which evidence supports the idea that life on Earth has continually evolved? We know that life on Earth has changed because of ice cores, fossils, rock layers, homologous structures, DNA evidence, which would most likely increase the genetic variation of a population. Genetic variation mainly comes about because of mutations. Like some comes in because of sexual reproduction, where a mama cat and a daddy cat combine their DNA and make a baby cat. Okay, but other variations come about because of mutations. So if there was an increase in mutations, there would be an increase in genetic variation. But once again, you're not getting superpowers. That's not what's going to happen. Blue eyes was a mutation. Red hair was a mutation. Lactose tolerance, the ability to drink milk as an adult without having a gas attack, was a mutation. Okay? Lactose intolerant adults are the normal ones. So don't look down on those people. Which is the primary source of energy for most cells in the body? So you eat food, your body breaks the carbohydrates down into sugars. The sugar goes to the mitochondria. The mitochondria takes the sugar and converts it to ATP. And your cell runs on the ATP. Now, ATP is not an answer choice here, so sugar must be the answer, which is classified as an element. Oh, and just remember that sugars are carbohydrates, because the answer could have just as easily said carbohydrates instead of sugar, which is classified as an element. So carbon dioxide is CO2. Iron is Fe. Vinegar is HCOOH3, I think. Water is H2O. So which one of those is an element? Which best describes the sequence of the elements in period 5 of the periodic table? So if we look at the periodic table, you have metals. Group 1 is very reactive. Groups 3 through 12 are less reactive. And then you have the stair-step. Stair-steps, the metalloids. Group 17 are nonmetals, but they are very reactive. And then group 18 are the noble gases, and they are not reactive at all. All right? So if you started on the left, and we're going to cross the periodic table, and no, it doesn't say left to right, but when you look at the periodic table, that's the way the numbers go. They increase from left to right. So periods are rows. So if we start over here, and we go to the left, we're going to start with group 1, okay, the highly reactive nonmetals. And then we're going to go through groups 3 through 12, the relatively non-reactive metals. And then a stair step, okay, that's the metalloids. And then group 17 are the reactive nonmetals. And group 18 are the non-reactive gases. Okay? That's exactly how I would have done that question. Right? Label the stuff. You know, if you knew nothing else, you should know that group 18 are the least reactive elements on the universe. Okay? So if you're going from left to right, group 18 is not reactive. You know it has to end in non-reactive nonmetals or gases. All right? So this says non-reactive nonmetals. Maybe. This says non-reactive gases. Maybe. Highly reactive gases. Nope. Reactive gases. Nope. All right? So then we look at A and B. We know it has to start with highly reactive metals. This says highly reactive gases. So nope. Answer has to be B. Label things. If you got to write it on a scratch sheet of paper, okay, because it's a digital test, it's on the computer. But if you got to write out the answer on a piece of paper and label it, then do it. You'll have the time. All right. Which statement is true about a chemical reaction? All right. Which statement is true about a chemical reaction? So with a chemical reaction, you have reactants that produce. The arrow literally means produces products. Okay? And this mass, the mass of the reactants, have to equal the mass of the products. The elements over here have to be the same as the elements over here. The number of atoms has to be the same. It has to balance. So if we look at the answer choices, physical states of the atom in the reaction determine the products. That is not true. Some of the atoms in the reactants will be part of the products. The word some makes it wrong. The number of atoms in the reactants determines the products. Nope. All of the atoms in the reactants will be part of the products. That is true. That goes along with the law of conservation of mass. Which are most responsible for creating acid rain pollution? As soon as you see acid rain, I want you to think burning coal. Okay, burning coal produces sulfur compounds and like sulfur dioxide, and that combines with water and you end up with H2SO4, and that's sulfuric acid, and so that leads to acid rain. So acid rain, think coal. Alright, table shows the estimated energy production in quadrillions of BTUs from fossil fuels over a 20-year period. Alright, coal increases, oil doubles, and natural gas increases. So what we see in this data is that as we depend on oil more, we energy produced from oil increases. Right? That's logic. All right, I'm at 15 minutes again, so I'm going to cut the video and make a part 3.